Hello, welcome. Happy Monday. Thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing, topping our newscast. Crime Stoppers USVI is back. Officials from both Crime Stoppers and the Virgin Islands Police Department made that announcement Monday morning during a press conference advising that the tip service is back in business. News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
Officials from Crime Stoppers USVI and the VI Police Department signed a memorandum of understanding Monday during a press conference announcing the return of Crime Stoppers.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be back on board. This program will work.
Just 3 months ago in June, Crime Stoppers announced that they were suspending their operations.
While we realize 6 months hasn't passed, our board feels the Crime Stoppers Anonymous tip line is needed more than ever, and we are willing to restart this valuable service immediately.
Officials said there was not enough support from the VIPD, and they would only reconsider starting their services if there was a dedicated liaison on the force working the tips in each district received from Crime Stoppers.
We are very pleased and excited to announce that Commissioner Delroy Richards took our request seriously and has identified a newly retired individual to work with us on St. Croix and is allowing Lieutenant Maria Jones on St. Thomas to continue being our liaison while he finds the right individual on that island.
I have pledged my support again to the Crime Stoppers by, first of all, bringing on board former Detective Luis Encarnacion as the liaison for Crime Stoppers on the island of St. Croix.
The funding for the two dedicated liaisons was identified by the Senate and worked into the budget. Police Commissioner Delroy Richards said they have even identified 2 VIPD staffers to back up the liaisons if they're out. He's happy Crime Stoppers is back on board. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Last Thursday, September 17th, over 30 individuals from public and private agencies, as well as religious organizations, attended the Peace Rally planning meeting that Senator Terrence Nelson held in the Senate President's Conference Room at the legislature. A complimentary Christian breakfast was provided during the meeting that lasted 3 hours. It was from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The focus was bringing back paradise. Now, the Rally for Peace will consist of many events and educational programs involving the entire community, including a peace memorial and concert, much more. All those dates will be announced very soon, says the senator. A follow-up to the planning meeting is scheduled for this Friday, September 25th. A large fraction of inmates released from prison tend to go back to their old ways. That's what the Senate Committee on Homeland Security learned from the Department of Justice officials on Monday. And part of the reason, according to lawmakers, could be the lack of rehab efforts on the part of the government. News 2's April Knight has that story.
Recidivism, the tendency to go back to undesirable behavior among former inmates once back out in society, was a major topic for lawmakers Monday. According to the Department of Justice, the Virgin Islands has a 55% recidivism rate. That means more than half of inmates that re-enter society after being incarcerated revert to risky or criminal behavior. According to a UVI study cited by DOJ officials, the typical inmate is a black male under 26 years of age who either did not have high school education or did not finish it. DOJ officials said there are a lot of factors that contribute to recidivism apart from education. There's also mental illness, domestic abuse or violence, and substance abuse.
Marijuana or alcohol abuse, generally those types of substances play a role in worsening or bringing about the effects from our experience.
Lawmakers criticized the lack of prison-assisted rehabilitation or educational programs, at least in one prison facility, that could help reduce tendencies for recidivism.
We should know what's going on within the walls of our prison system. There's no education going on there. How are we rehabilitating people to come back out and re-enter into our community as productive citizens?
Whatever prison isn't provided in terms of rehabilitation, when the person comes out, they can there are services available as well, because it is resource driven, and I'm not sure of the situation here in St. Thomas. It is alarming.
The glaring absence of officials from the Bureau of Corrections during the hearing meant no input at all from the BOC. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
The Senate Committee on Homeland Security also received updates from the Division of Paternity and Child Support, which is also under the Department of Justice. According to PCSD officials, they're getting close to a point where they're spending just as much as they're collecting, and they're looking to get some help. News 2's April Knight has more.
The Division of Paternity and Child Support is challenged when it comes to collecting child support money. That's according to officials from the division who appeared before lawmakers Monday. According to Director Charlotte Poole Davis, their expenses are slowly catching up with their collections. Davis said they've invited the Federal Parent Locator Service for technical assistance in increasing collections and finding parents for child support payments. The division says more than 1,700 persons have been identified as being in child support arrears of $2,500 or more. The Attorney General has also launched Operation Support Our Children, which can result in suspension of driver's licenses, occupational licenses, and restrictions in vehicle registrations for delinquent parents. One lawmaker did speak from personal experience on child support.
There's another side to it, you know. Some women like to take men to court who, even if they're helping you, they send you to paternity and child support. I know about those kind, they spite you. They tell you you got to go and pay. I know about that because I was one of them. Yeah, I was one of them. It wasn't that you wasn't taking care of the child. You just didn't probably marry them or something like that and they get upset.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
In other news, the USVI Department of Tourism will participate in the 22nd Annual Florida Caribbean Cruise Association Cruise Conference and Trade Show held in Cozumel, Mexico. That's from October 5th to the 8th, 2015. For many cruise executives, destination suppliers, and tour operators, the annual FCCA Conference and Trade Show is the premier industry event at which key industry players analyze trends and discuss current issues. Nearly 1,000 cruise industry partners attend each year. The Department of Tourism is inviting destination marketing partners, hotels, venues, attractions, restaurants, and tour operators to join its delegation at the conference to showcase the variety of offerings in the USVI. To request an application, you can call 340-774-8784, but quickly because the deadline is Tuesday, September 22nd. The 31st legislature is poised to begin discussions on the impact restored relations between the United States and Cuba will have on the economy of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Senate Vice President Jeanette Millen-Young, chair of the Committee on Economic Development, Planning and Agriculture, said a hearing has been scheduled for Monday, September 28th, 2 p.m. in the Earl B. Otley Legislative Hall in Charlotte Amalie. Several key testifiers, she says, well noted in the fields of tourism, economics, and more will all be there. Interested? You can provide a 5-minute committee testimony. Contact the coordinator, Ms. Sonia Boyce, and that number is 340-693-2248. Turning our attention overseas, a very busy schedule for Pope Francis in Cuba. After a packed Sunday, he's got a full agenda today, celebrating Mass and spreading his message of hope and love. Paulo Sandoval has the details from Havana.
Thousands lined the streets of Holguin, Cuba to greet Pope Francis. It's the first time the head of the Catholic Church visits the city, which is the province that was once home to Raúl and Fidel Castro.
Oh Dios, que en tu infinita misericordia.
Francis celebrated Mass in Revolution Square, his second in as many days. He urged the faithful to give up themselves.
His love cures our myopy and stimulates us to look further. We don't stay with the aspects or the politically correct.
He also made vague reference to religious restrictions in Cuba.
I know that the church in Cuba works in difficult conditions to take everyone, even in the most remote places, the word and the presence of Christ.
The Pope is blessing Holguín after the Mass. It will soon be off to Santiago, Cuba's second largest city, to meet with local clergy and visit a shrine. Tuesday, the Pope steps on U.S. soil for the first time. He'll visit Washington, New York, and Philadelphia. New York's Archbishop expects the Pope will preach positivity.
The world is filled with bad news, okay? All we hear about is division and violence and setbacks and disappointments and war and hunger and refugees. He wants to give us some good news.
Reporting in Havana, I'm Polo Sandoval.
Keeping an eye on the economy, here's a New York Stock Exchange with a stock market watch. Taking a look there, everything up. The Dow 125, NASDAQ 1, S&P 500 8. Coming up on News 2, volunteers joined together to rid the beaches of debris and garbage. It's in recognition of Coast Week's beach cleanup. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Former Lieutenant Governor Julio Brady will lie in state for all who wish to pay their respects in both St. Croix and St. Thomas. Wednesday, September 23rd, he will lie in state 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Government House St. Croix. Then Thursday, September 24th, in state from 12 to 3, Government House St. Thomas. The service is set for Friday, September 25th. Viewing is at 9:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m. funeral mass, and then 10:30 a.m. That will be held at the Holy Cross Catholic Church, Christiansted, St. Croix. The St. Thomas East End Medical Center Corporation was awarded about $260,000 last week in federal funding to expand dental and behavioral health services in the St. Thomas St. John district. Grant funds are available through 2017 and will enable the health center to increase dental services to 650 more patients, in addition to the 1,600 who receive dental care annually. Newly implemented behavioral health services are projected to serve 150 new clients. The health center intends to augment services in behavioral health in the St. Thomas St. John district as well. Well, dozens of groups across the territory joined together this past weekend to take part in the 30th annual Coast Weeks cleanup. That's when the community helps to clean up the beaches and surrounding areas. One such group was the University of the Virgin Islands Psychology Club, who spent Saturday morning cleaning the Cane Bay Beach. NEWS2's Erica Parsons has more.
Cane Bay Beach is a much cleaner area today. On Saturday, volunteers collected at least 7 bags of trash from the area.
The items that we found were beer cans, soda cans, we found condoms, we found marijuana bags, we found Pampers and clothing, we found a lot of beer glass bottles and straws and styrofoam. We found a mystery medal. I'm not too sure if it was from a bed or a bed post. We also found tiles, which was very unusual.
It was all part of the 30th Annual Ocean Conservancy International Coastal Cleanup. UVI Psychology Club was one of the groups participating to clean the territory's beaches.
This is an initiative from Marshall Taylor. She's the one who is in charge, and she's the one who organized the cleanup day for the different clubs in the university. So we're here to clean up the island and make this place more beautiful than it is.
Educating people about keeping a clean environment is one goal, but collecting the information about how much trash is discarded is another, and volunteers were tracking that data.
We write everything that we find, and then after that we go on an app, we download it, and it goes to the International Cleanup Association on the mainland.
The cleanup this year was concentrated on ridding the shoreline and surrounding areas of trash.
It's not good for our children seeing us throwing trash. We have to set an example. We are their mentors. They see what we do. Your island represents you. And again, if you cannot clean your own backyard, how can you clean your own household or even clean the government?
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Great message there. Now, the weekend cleanups run through October 31st, so people or organizations who want to volunteer to help clean a beach can contact UVI's Marine Advisory Services for that schedule. Hispanic heritage is being celebrated right now. Several events were held already, but the next major event taking place will be Sacred Night, which is on October 8th. That's an open concert at the Canagata Ballpark. There will be various St. Croix churches, musical groups, and pastors participating in the concert. There will also be special performances by Josie Esteban from the Dominican Republic, Luis Belardo from Vieques, and Hector Ivan Cortes from Puerto Rico. Senator Tregenza Roach shares a message about VIPR friendship. He says the bond of mutual respect and goodwill with the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico and its insular islands emphasize the need to recognize the accomplishments of Hispanic citizens. Virgin Islanders have traditionally relied on Puerto Rican medical services and merchants and businessmen. This relationship of economic and social codependence reinforces the strong bonds of friendship celebrated during Virgin Islands Puerto Rico Friendship Day events. The month of celebration also provides the opportunity for us to reflect, he says, on the historic ties between the territory and the Dominican Republic, as well as the rich history of migration between these shores. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.